What's up, my good people of the internet? Dan Tortora here with Isaac Alford for Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And we are here with you on this beautiful Monday morning to celebrate an Orange victory. Not the first one, not the second one, but the third one in a row to start the season, 3-0. Syracuse taking care of business inside of the Dome. And Tortora and Alford here to take care of business for you to start your week here at 9 a.m. on Wake Up Call. Isaac, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's a beautiful weekend to enjoy what we just saw. You know, the Orange coming through, you know, a good test they had on Saturday. You know, a good Purdue team that came through. You know, the coach was really telling us throughout the week, you know, hey, these guys are legit, you know, and then they had to come out with their best game, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, you know, awesome week for the guys. I want to give a shout out to Enrique A. Cruz Jr., offensive lineman for Syracuse, and Brady Denenberg, a specialist there for kickoffs, future kicker of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see both of their families. We got to tailgate with Enrique Cruz's family, the Sara Cruz tailgate, and Isaac and I walked across Syracuse to get there. And when we got there and we got to see William and Vanessa and the whole crew, a big shout out to everybody. You know, there's nothing like partying with a bunch of good old Hispanics right here in the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month. And when they gave us, oh, what do you want to drink? We got this, we got that, we got the other thing. And then they said, oh, Vanessa made some sangria. I'm like, let me get the sangria because I know it's homemade.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, Isaac and I were feeling all right.
Oh, the hospitality was great. Oh, yeah, definitely was feeling good.
Yeah. We were walking up to the Dome. I was like, it's so far. And then I looked at Isaac. I'm like, we're here.
Floating.
Yeah. I felt all warm inside. But Vanessa, I'm not saying it just to say it. Like, you make the best sangria. It tasted like like drinking sweet syrup.
It was good. It was really delicious. That was my first time.
And I wanted first sangria.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Man, welcome to the family.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, sangria. You know, and it was funny. I didn't say this to Vanessa, but I wanted to tell her. I'm like, the ones I've had before were from women that I had dated, and I should have just known that.
You should have known something was wrong.
Yeah,
right.
I was like, nothing was ever sweet. It was like alcohol and like carbonated type of way. But no, this was like, you know, this was just made with love. So very good. They killed it though. Like when William after the game, I said Isaac and I need to get some.
Yeah.
He went back to the tailgate. He's like, Dan's gone. So
stuff like that doesn't last too long.
No, especially not after a victory. So shout out to you, Vanessa, and to the entire family. Shout out to Little Man who bumped his fist. So and a couple people that are, you know, family, friends, and I consider family as family. They came out to their first ever game in the Syracuse tailgate, and they got to see a victory. Their first trip to Syracuse.
Definitely a great game to be at. You know, that game was just good from beginning to end. You know, Syracuse kind of started off slow, but, you know, second half they picked it up and did what they had to do. But, yeah, you know, for your first time coming to the Dome, I remember my first game way back in the day. I think it was Rutgers and Walter Rayer's game. And it was one of those typical, you know, crowd league because Syracuse is down and they missed a great comeback. So, yeah, definitely they got to enjoy a great game that day. So
yeah, and my mom came out to the game. A big shout out to Marianne for inviting my mom out. Marianne, a family friend of very, very many years. I remember, and speaking of sangria and whatnot, when I was little, like 7 years old, they would have bunko, and Mariana, like they would all come over, and I was responsible for bringing the wine coolers to everybody. The strawberry daiquiris and the fuzzy maples. I was a 7-year-old bartender.
There you go.
So, you know, start me young, and brought those all around, had a good time with it, and my mom came there with Marianne, was behind one of the goalposts, and my mom said it was the best game that she has ever been to in the Dome. Yeah. So it was really cool. Shout out to my mom. She wore yellow because she had orange on and she got warm. So she wore yellow, and I was like, Ma, at least it wasn't gold. Because I was like, you almost look like Purdue. But my mom had yellow, and you could see her. I'm like looking. I'm like, where's your mom at? I'm like, that lady wearing yellow but right there. So I saw my mom, and I got to surprise her at halftime. Also want to shout out Connie and Dan and the Denenberg family, Brady's parents. Got to go over and hang out with them for a little bit and have some fun with them. And then Isaac and I, after the game, got to catch up Garrett Williams' family, and got to meet Mom and Dad, and Dad and I have conversed a lot. Shout out to Dad, and a big thanks to him for going to Cafe Kubal, and then letting me know to go over to Duck Donuts in Charlotte, North Carolina. So got to see the Williams family, the Denneberg family, the Cruz family, my family. So it was a family affair at the Dome.
Definitely a good community feel to it. You know, like you said, families being all hospitable and seeing everybody. That's what it's all about. You know, families coming together, the players coming together and having a great time there. You know, tailgating. That was a good scene. Like we talked about before the game. You know, you was like, hey, they actually do tailgate around here.
Yeah, we were going around, and I was seeing like a lot of nice setups finally. So shout out to the family, and I want to thank Enrique's family for providing me with one of these, which is going to be right here in the studio. Enrique's Sara Cruz tailgate. You can see the Syracuse logo there, and it says Home of the Fine Mess. And on the back, we got Cruz. And so a lot of love to Enrique Cruz and to the family. And his dad presented me with this shirt, and he was like, Dan, you know we got to get you this. So very near and dear to my heart. Got my Enrique Cruz thing here, and for those that don't know, Enrique and I, in our first interview, I don't know how we got here, but, you know, God is always really just incredible in my life. And we were talking, and somehow we got on running for president, and I said, there's never been a Hispanic president, and I said, that's part of my blood. So I said, he's Puerto Rican, my family's from Spain. I said, how about I run, you be my VP, I'll run a term, we'll win that term, we'll go to the next one, then we'll flip, I'll be your VP. So I'll be in the White House for 16 years. And I feel like saying 16, and Dave Chappelle going, God, you know. I don't say God, but he's like, God damn, you know. So, but that's when he said for 16 hours. That's when he was Tyrone Bigham. So, Enrique, you know this. If you see the hashtag Tortora Cruz, that's what it is. And then 8 years after that, it'll be Cruz Tortora, and I will be more than happy to take the vice presidential chair.
There you go.
And, you know, we'll go out there and have a good time together. And we already know that Grandma Carmen is going to be making her homemade rice on the front lawn of the White House. So be ready, folks. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. And someday, Cruz Tortora Cruz, coming to a presidency near you. And what's the tagline? We can't be any worse. We're going to have fun. Listen, you got Hispanics in the White House.
Sangria everywhere.
Yeah. Sangria, rice. You know, and I was like, I'm Italian and Hispanic. So you know that there's three, and I can say this on the show, there's three things that I say. I always wonder, I'm like, can I say this? I'm like, Dan, it's your show. There's three things that Hispanics and Italians are good at that is the same. Mm-hmm. We are supposed to be good cooks, good dancers, and good lovers.
There you go.
So,
the
listen.
Trifecta.
Yeah. So we're going to be loving up the White House. We're going to be cooking in the White House. We're going to be dancing in the White House. And I think Enrique would go for this. They said, if you were president, what's one of the first three things you'd do? I said, I would paint the White House orange. And I wouldn't just paint it. I would get up in a helicopter and as president be shooting like a paint gun to the White House and have them like lean and let me like paint it while I'm in the air. I was like, I'm going to do it fun. They'd be like, this man trying to kill himself. I'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, tell Kim Jong-un I'm hanging out, you know, this helicopter, painting the White House myself. I'm ready for him. And they'd be like, man, he's pretty on target. You remember that.
He can hit a house.
Yeah. He can hit the house. So, and when I'm golfing, I've also hit a few houses. So
yeah, he's already starting.
I remember down in Florida when I was working at ESPN, they said, we don't need you to golf. We just need you to, like, greet people at, like, hole 14 or whatever. And number one, if you put your house on a golf course, like, you're expecting to get hit. Right. Like, it's like you want it, right? You know, it's like if Tina stayed with Ike Turner, right? She's expecting him.
She's not expecting
you know, and then she got to hit back, you know, because Tina, nobody deserves that.
Yeah,
nobody deserves that. You know, all I'm saying is Tina's tough and Ike was a scumbag.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm not condoning anything, folks. Live with me and understand. But if you have a house on the golf course, you know, that's going to be a fun one for people to remember. But if you have a house on the golf course, you're expecting to get hit. It's like being a boxer thinking that you're just going to like love tap each other. Like, so I hit the house. So then they're like, oh, Dan, you know, you're up here, whatever, do your thing. And they're like, hit a couple. And they wanted to see me do it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to hit the house. And I hit the house 3 times. And so we went back.
Were you aiming at the house?
I mean, at one point probably. I was just like, can I hit anything else? But there's no netting up, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, this woman's going to be like cooking eggs in the kitchen, doing her thing, and it's going to come through the window and like go into the skillet, and she's going to be like, Dan Tortora's golfing again, that mother. So, I'm out here golfing, and I hit the house 3 times, and I come back to the clubhouse, and I'm talking with people, and we're laughing at dinner. Guy comes up onto the microphone, and he's like, excuse me, before we eat dinner, we know that on hole 14 that there was a house that was hit multiple times, and if anybody knows the golfer that was hitting the house, we'd love to have the name. And I looked around, and I was like, man, I didn't golf. You just told me to play,
Right.
And I was like, why would you need to know the name? Like, the person was upset. And I said, well, then don't live on the golf course.
Yeah. It's like location.
It's like when you live on a beach.
Don't cry when you get a hurricane.
Right, So, I mean, it's like you have to take... That's what I tell people. Like, I love Florida. It's my second home. And, like, what keeps you from living down there all the time? Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Because you don't... We have the only storms that you can play in.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, like, I feel like, it's just... I hit the house a lot. But then also, here in Syracuse, there's one where, like, the thruway, you're on, like, the second to last hole, and there's trees, a giant gaping opening, and more trees. And right when you tee off, there's this massive, like, half a mile where they didn't build more trees, and the thruway's right there with a rest stop. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, obviously I'm going to hit it on the thruway.
So note to self, when Dan is golfing... Don't have a house and don't drive along the thruway.
Isaac, I'm on hole 17. Don't get on the thruway. Because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I'm going to hit. I was like, it's going to go up, and I'm going to hear this, and I'm going to hear, bang, 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 bang. And I'm like, they shouldn't put it out here. They shouldn't give me this opportunity.
Just take the mother again for that.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
So the things you need to learn is build trees to block my ball to the thruway. Don't put your house there unless you have like netting or some reinforced invisible shield. And Tina Turner's a bad mother.
Yeah,
so,
there you go. Watch your mouth.
So, and all that had to do with football. So, but no, we had a great time, and I want to thank the Cruz family, the Denenberg family, the Williams family, my mom for coming out, and yeah, I want to thank the fans. Mm-hmm. I asked for 40K. We didn't quite get there. However, I will say this: up, down, and in between, I didn't see anybody leave their seat and go home today.
No,
I didn't see any fans leave until the end.
It was one of those games you had to stay in your seats, and if you left that game a little bit early, then you missed the best part. But credit to the fans that did show up. They were loud, they were into it. They were, every time the defense needed that extra momentum, that pick six. Oh my God, the place erupted. So just I can just only imagine once we do get 40 in there, and we're gonna keep asking, and once we do get that 40, 44,000 in there, we're just going to blow the roof off. Yeah.
Y'all need to pack the house. I don't know. Listen, I love Beacon Skiff. Isaac and I go there. If y'all were picking apples today instead of watching oranges, it literally was the difference between apples and oranges, and you missed a great game. So you can go to Beacon Skiff tomorrow. You can go to Beacon Skiff early. You can go to Beacon Skiff after. I think everybody should go to Beacon Skiff. Leave some cider donuts for us. But you did not need to go Saturday, September 17th at noon.
Yeah, you definitely missed a good one.
5,000, no, I'm sorry. So we had about 35,000, so 15,000 people needed to be at the Dome.
Yeah.
You need to pack the house, but it was loud. Y'all stayed around. I love the fan. I put videos up on our social media, at Wake Up Call DT on Facebook, at Call DT on Twitter, at Wake Up Call _DT on Instagram. Y'all can check it out. And a big shout out to my dude, and I got to say this right now in the moment while we are speaking, because I think he just did it, and I'm so excited about this. My man, Andre Cisco, just favorited the post about Caleb Okechukwu and Garrett Shrader and what they just did. So big time shout out to Dre. Love what you're doing. You're doing it with my Jaguars, and he is now Cinco again. He is number 5. He took that number this year, became a starting safety on the team, made the roster, became a starter. So Andre Cisco, thank you for the retweet. Always love hearing from the guys. I don't care if you're 100 years old or all the way up to, you're one of the walk-ons on the team. Yeah, you all have a place on the show.
Just like what I tell you, family's family.
Yeah.
You're always going to be Syracuse family, so that's a good thing.
Isaac said it here in the studio when he signed on to work with Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. I said, well, Isaac, welcome to the family. And he looked at me, and he was standing right off camera over here. And he said, well, he goes, you don't have to welcome someone into the family when they're already family.
Exactly.
So, and I also want to let people know that Syracuse is 2-0 in the Dome this season. And they're 2-0 when Isaac wears Dan Tortora Broadcast Media t-shirts.
Exactly. This got to be here, and this is going to be here.
Yeah, and the bucket hat. And let me tell you something about the bucket hat, because God works in mysteriously awesome ways. I wore the bucket hat. My mom had one when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
She had a Walt Disney World old school one with the old Disney with like the world in it. And she gave it to me as I was growing up. And it's a light blue one, and I brought it to college. Then I had I don't know if it's in here, but I have a Marywood one. And so I wore that, and people were like, why would you wear that? And when I was on campus, I felt like most like myself. Like, I could pick up any girl wearing this Marywood one.
Right.
And then people were like, why are you wearing a bucket hat? Then my last ex-girlfriend, I was down in Florida. My grandmother's favorite color is aqua, which is like that teal Jaguar and her color.
Mm-hmm.
And they have Rebel Leader for Star Wars, and it's in that color. And she was like, I don't like that hat on you. And I was like, I need to buy that hat. And I feel like God is telling me, because I was like bucket hats by myself, and people were like, why are you doing it? And I just saw somebody wear it recently that loved it. Mm-hmm. You got yours on, and they win every week that you have yours on. So I think God is telling me that down in Disney World, I need to get my Rebel Leader hat this time.
Get it. Must do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and speaking of rebellious, Syracuse has done the opposite of what a lot of people anticipated. Starting the season 3-0, your brightest spots three games in of what this team has done on the field.
Brightest spots defensively. The defense was as advertised. They came out and performed. Louisville game, they came out, shut down a good Louisville offense. Connecticut, but they came up and did what they needed to do to get the second team a chance to shine a little bit in that Connecticut game late. And then, that game against Purdue, slow start for the offense. And Garrett Shrader even said in the press conference, the defense came out and held us down. Yeah. They gave us the energy at halftime to let us know, hey, we come out in the second half, we can do what we got to do. And basically that whole second half was a back and forth, up and down. Hey, we're going to take our shots. You guys take your shots. But in the end, the defense got the pick six. They did the score. What we talked about pregame before that. This team hasn't turned the ball over yet. We were up +6 now, I believe, in a turnover margin. So, as advertised, the defense
still hasn't turned it over because the interception was negated.
You're right. Pass interference.
By a pass interference.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, to go back to that, Syracuse has to thank Purdue for keeping their drive alive twice. Garrett Shrader goes out of bounds, and what would have set up a fourth down, I believe, at the time on a third down. And it was a late hit out of bounds, so they called a penalty, personal foul. And then on the Garrett Shrader interception, where it looked like he was going to get sacked and he forced the throw, that would have ended things for Syracuse. And instead, there's a pass interference penalty. So Syracuse got some help by mistake from Purdue. And then when Syracuse goes up by 3, and you're seeing like where they are in this game, and you say, okay, they're up by 3. It was 18-15. Syracuse retakes the lead, and they're in that situation inside of this matchup. And then Caleb and that was with 8:17 left in the game.
Mm-hmm.
With 8:08 left, 9 seconds later, Caleb. So they get after the quarterback. They go after Aiden O'Connell, who did a phenomenal job in this game. They go after him, and as he's going down, he forces a pass right in front of himself. Caleb's there. He gathers it. He runs 17 yards back. First career collegiate interception, first career collegiate touchdown. So proud of you, Caleb. I got mad love for all you guys. I try to talk. I said, if there's 100 people on that roster, I try to talk to all 100 of you. You guys know that throughout all the years. You've been so great to me, past, present, and future Syracuse players. Thank you. And Caleb's one of my guys that I've had a lot of time to talk to. We got to talk to him after the game and say, good job on that. And, I was so happy to see first career interception, first career touchdown for Caleb. And to look at that and say Syracuse scored 2 touchdowns in 9 seconds after being so quiet in the first half and coming back and doing what they did. And that play that Caleb had, when Syracuse took the lead, it was like, okay, they got the lead. And then when he erupted on that net, the first play of Purdue's drive, felt like it was a couple plays in. It was the first play of the drive, and he takes that ball back, great hands, runs it forward, and the way that he came into the end zone and then ran toward the fans and like handed it toward them, I honestly think that's one of the best plays I've ever seen in the dome.
Oh yeah, it's definitely up there. It's up there with a list of a couple ones I remember.
Trill's strip when he spun the guy around and took
Trill's strip. I think that was a block punt and Trill caught for a touchdown. But yeah, definitely one of the top plays. It's definitely the top play so far this season. As what they call mob mentality. Hey, those guys came out and played, man. Aiden O'Connell was everything that they said he was going to be out there. And I mean, I think he was like 20. What we said, he was like 20 for. I think he was like 21 for 27 at halftime, I believe.
Yeah, he started the game 9 of 10, and then he was like 20 of 25 or 20 of 23, something like that.
Right.
And then when he hit 200 yards passing, he was 20 of 25. No, he was 20 of 25 when he hit. I'm sorry, he was 25 of 35 when he hit 200 yards passing.
Right.
And he ended up concluding the game 39 of 55 for 424 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Another guy that played at Purdue named Drew Brees. Those look like Drew Brees numbers.
Exactly.
Throwing 50-plus times, over 400 passing yards, 3 touchdowns to 1 pick. Like, with all due respect to Purdue, Aiden O'Connell looked himself like Drew Brees in a game like this. Not to say, like, oh, he's Drew Brees number 2, just to parallel him to another Purdue quarterback. I mean, he put on a clinic. When he wanted to move the ball, he moved the ball. And I took his drives down. You can go back and read the story on wakeupcalldt.com. Click on articles. You'll see it there. And and a bunch of times within my story, I said on this drive he went 7 of 7. On this drive he went 4 of 4, and then hit the 55-yard pass for the touchdown. There was so many times where it was like 5 of 7, 7 of 7, 4 of 4 on drives. And I mean, toward the end of the game, when it's like they got to score twice, and they did, because Aiden O'Connell he came back from that interception return for a touchdown by Caleb to go 4 for 4 and a 50-plus yard touchdown, immediately responding.
Yeah.
Within less than 2 minutes.
The wide receiver for the Purdue 15 and the 87, I thought that was Gronk out there, but he definitely was dealing the ball all over the field. And like you said, and some of those plays he was making, the defense had them backed up. Either there was like a false start or something because of the crowd noise. And, I mean, it would be like 2nd and 15, and it'd be next thing you know, 3rd and 1, because he just makes those connections with the receivers. And, those guys fought, man. I'm going to tell you, Tony White's defense, man. There was a couple of shots they got. And again, it's a great offense. When Purdue's out there, they're going to take their shots. And you had to expect that from a 6-year quarterback. He's out there. He's been in the big games before. It's nothing new for that guy. So, but for Tony White's defense, to me, I was thinking to myself, these guys are kind of like bend but don't break.
Yeah.
We get you down to the red zone, and then we'll kind of slow you down, and give you all you can handle when you get into the red zone. But defensively finally gave up their red zone possession touchdowns. But yeah, that's going to happen. But hats off to those guys, though. They held it down when they needed to, and the offense woke up. I think I was looking at halftime stats. The offense was like 0 for 5 on 3rd down. Purdue was like 4 for 7 on 3rd down. And it wasn't until that second possession in the second half that we started getting third down conversion, and that just kept that momentum going. We ended up scoring a touchdown, and, the rest of there is a back-and-forth battle, like you said.
Well, it was funny in the beginning of the game in the first quarter where Purdue had 4 first downs, one of them coming from a Syracuse penalty, got nothing. Syracuse's next drive, they had 4 first downs, one of them on a Purdue penalty, so it was like literally the same. But Syracuse came away with the field goal from Andre Schmidt from 50 yards away. And, going back to O'Connell for a second, he threw to altogether 9 different receivers in the game. Charlie Jones had 11 receptions for 188 yards and a touchdown. Looked like Drew Brees to Michael Thomas. It's crazy. And then you mentioned 87, the tight end Payne Durham caught 9 passes. 2 of those are for touchdowns, 83 yards. One of them wide open over the middle. The second one he caught to force Syracuse to have to come back and do something with it, which made it 29-25 Purdue. When he caught that, he literally grabbed it, and like in that split second that it could have been in the hands of a Syracuse guy, he like literally grabbed and ripped the ball toward him, like just pulled it toward himself. Payne Durham was, I mean, folks, listen, and for people that watch Purdue every day, you probably say, yeah, Dan, I already got this, but you know, for somebody that doesn't get to see Purdue every day, he looked like an NFL tight end for sure.
Definitely, for sure. Matter of fact, I told you after that game, I was like, at one point, I just quit watching the offense and just watching him, see what he was doing. And the defense finally picked up on him a little bit there in the first half, you know, because he was literally the check down guy.
Yeah.
Or that whole, the beginning of Purdue was kind of making the defense go from side to side. And it was a lot of wide passing and stuff, you know, kind of making the defense go sideline. And he was the guy that was, if he went into motion, he was the lead blocker kind of on that side. But, you know, the defense did a hell of a job tackling it too, you know. There were a few missed ones in the end, but they kind of got themselves back together. But, yeah, definitely those two guys are going to be on. You're going to see them on NFL roster on Sundays.
And there was a play to the middle of the field that turned into a 31-yard gain when Deion Burks, one of the wide receivers, caught 3 passes in the game. He caught this pass and somehow kept his knees up, got out of it, and ran and got right toward the red zone, which helped to set up Payne Durham in that touchdown, in the second touchdown that he had. So something to be said about Deion Burks and what he did for this offense and just what they did down the stretch. That these guys would, I mean, they fought like heck to stay up and stay with it. And on this drive, before he caught that pass, Deuce Chestnut had shut down 2 in a row. There was a pass to the outside in single coverage that Deuce chased him all the way down the field, didn't let him get that touchdown. Then the next one, Deuce was there with him when the ball got thrown into the dirt. And then after that, Deion Burks gets that. So like you said, defense doing well. I want to shout out Deuce Chestnut on one of the plays. Charlie Jones, when he got a massive first down, that was Garrett Williams was well behind him on that. And then Garrett, shortly after on that drive, went to the end zone and prevented something. So, you know, it's like, yeah, there's going to be certain plays where, you know, guys may get beat. But I do also, because I know some people were knocking on Garrett Williams and this and that. Garrett, he for what was given up by Syracuse in the game, the 3 passing touchdowns, guys like Deuce Chestnut and Garrett Williams prevented a lot more of what could have happened. And there was some single coverages that they took care of business. So I want to give credit where credit is due. Shout out Garrett Williams, Deuce Chestnut, Elijah Clark, a bunch of the guys there on the defense and in the secondary that in single coverage literally did not let, like you said, guys tackling well and whatnot. It's like, yeah, Deion Burks had that toward the end of the game. But with all due respect, you know, Syracuse's defense stopped a lot of plays, and I and Deuce on some of those plays, there's at least a couple more touchdowns would have went to Purdue.
Yeah, and I want to say, you was asking me that question on the block extra point. I mean, to my eye, it looked like it was Garrett that got around the corner that blocked that, you know, extra point. So, you know, they was hustling all over the field, not just on defense, on special teams too. And you know, that's going to happen. You know, a quarterback, Locano, is going to take his shots, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, this game could have been more than 9-3 at halftime, you know what I'm saying? Then they did a hell of a job, you know, battling those guys. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to take your hat off. Even Dino said it, hey, you want to come play cornerback at Syracuse University, guess what? You're going to be on the island, you know, for most of the game, you know.
And he said that after the game. He said, no one's going to help you.
Right.
You are going to be by yourself. And what did he say? He's like, you're not gonna be eating. Like, there's no food that's gonna be delivered to you. He's like, if you want to be on that island and you come to Syracuse, you will be on your own.
Exactly. And no, hey, you know, like you say, a good cornerback has a short memory. So, you know, you got me on that play. Guess what? Next play, you know, let's see what happens. You know, so hey, hats off to those guys for, you know, never giving up.
Yeah, you know, and to give a little food for thought here. Yardage-wise, the Boilermakers well outdid Syracuse in yardage. Syracuse finished up the game with 181 passing yards to Purdue's 424. However, on the ground, Syracuse, even though it didn't look like it throughout the game, did have more yards on the ground, 125 yards rushing to the 61 for Purdue. Now, Purdue carried the ball 13 times less. And then one of the statistics that is pretty crazy, Syracuse as a team, 5 different players caught at least one pass from Garrett Shrader. The team in the game totaled 13 receptions. Charlie Jones of Purdue had 11 by himself.
Yeah, he came in the game, I believe, with 21. So I tell you what kind of threat he was in his first 2 games, coming in with 21 catches. So he's already averaging, double figures in catches per game. So, hey, but you know what, I told you this too after the game. I said, sometimes stats is nice, but I just want the guys to make a play.
Yeah.
Just give me the guys that make the play. Yeah, but the stats going to come from making plays, but just because you go up and down, throw for 400 yards, that don't guarantee you're going to win the game sometimes.
Right, and we've seen that. We've seen it in the NFL. You've seen it with Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Where you could do a bunch of great things statistically that make you look good in fantasy football, but in reality, you don't win the game. The biggest thing about Syracuse is, once again, 3 games in, they did not commit a turnover. Garrett Shrader had 3 touchdowns to no interceptions. The one pick that he threw in the Purdue end zone was negated by that pass interference call that we talked about. And Syracuse did have a couple fumbles, but they didn't lose anything. So Syracuse did not turn the ball over. They forced an interception that was returned for a touchdown, the pick 6 from Caleb Okechukwu on Aiden O'Connell, which means that Syracuse 3 games in is +6 in the turnover margin and has not committed a turnover in the first quarter. And I want to give you food for thought here. 3 games in of 12 regular season games, that's a quarter of the season already gone. No turnovers by Syracuse, +6 in the turnover margin, a quarter of the season in.
Yeah, and that's how you be 3-0, man. You take care of the rock, and
don't give any extra possessions.
Exactly, yeah. And if you're taking it from the other team, that just giving your offense another chance to put points on the board. So yeah, definitely kudos to those guys for that. Yeah,
and seeing what Syracuse did in this matchup, with some of the things that Purdue had, like you talk about, we talk about not turning the ball over, not giving them extra possessions. Thank God they didn't in Syracuse's favor, because Purdue, on back-to-back scoring plays in the second half, they took 5 minutes off the clock each time. They, it's, you see in the drives that they had, and then Syracuse had one that was 5:46, so they kind of gave it back to them. But I mean, you look at one of the quarters, and you're saying out of 15 minutes, Purdue took 10 of 15 minutes on 2 drives because Aiden was just putting on a clinic under center there at quarterback for them. So if Syracuse had given them any more possessions, you're talking about maybe another 5 minutes off the clock, not 20 seconds, not a minute, not a minute and a half, but these long drawn out things. I mean, Purdue's coming from the Big Ten, where they just beat you, they push you gradually, and taking as much time as they've taken off of. I think it really drives it home that they didn't turn the ball over when you look at the fact that Purdue had 5-minute drives.
And luckily, Purdue special teams wasn't top notch. They missed a couple of field goals there, and they gave up opportunity in that first quarter not to go for the field goal on that 4 from 3 or whatever it was. So,
well, and I think that they were trying to get the ball off because
they didn't want
they realized that was not a completion.
Yeah.
So they were just rushing it, and it was to no avail for them. They gained, I think, 2 yards on 4th and 3.
Right.
And turned the ball over on Syracuse's 9. But I think that was just like, hey, let's get the ball out there. But if I'm a coach, it's like, yeah, bro, I'm like let's get the ball out, but let's know what we're doing.
Exactly.
Because the play looks so rushed that it just looked like it was not a well put together play.
Yeah, and again, Syracuse did a good run defense. Like you said, Purdue really didn't put that many yards on the in the game running the ball. So yeah, that little 4 from 3, that's a tough 3 against the Syracuse defense.
Yeah, and Mitchell Finneran on their team, 1 of 2 on field goals, missed a 41. He connected on a 41-yarder, missed another one, and then also missed the extra point that was blocked by Garrett Williams. So that's something to look to. Andre Schmidt was also 1 of 2. Interesting. Schmidt missed one from 40+, but made a 50-yarder without any issues. So.
I think that the one he missed, I don't know if you saw the replay of it, I think that was a high snap, and the holder had to go up and bring it back down. That might have just threw off the timing a little bit, but that's something they corrected. So.
And Max Van Marburg, the punter for Syracuse, 6 punts in the game, 260 yards. He averaged over 43 yards per punt, and he sent 1 inside of the 20 and 1 for a touchback. So just to really drive home the fact that life with a special teams coordinator and Coach Legg and what they're doing, averaging 43 yards, almost half the field per punt, shout out to Max Van Marburg, who's done some good things so far.
Yeah, definitely. Special teams is another phase. We already talked about that. The 3 phases: offense, defense, special teams. If you're winning in all 3, hey, you're going to be 3-0.
We're looking at the rushing attack for Syracuse, like we said, a little bit more quiet. 35 rushes, still more than Purdue. Purdue had 6 different players run the ball, including their quarterback. Syracuse had 2, Shrader and Tucker, big surprise. Shrader had 17 carries, Tuck had 18. Shrader 17 for 83, 4.9 yards a carry. And for the first time this season, Sean Tucker does not have a rushing touchdown in a game and does not hit 100 yards, getting 42 yards and 18 carries for 2.3 yards a carry. And the first game all season where Garrett Shrader, these 3 games in, is not 72% completion percentage or better. He was 72%, then over 80% against UConn. In this game, 44.8%, 13 for 29. But to his credit, he did in the second half hit at least 2 receivers in the hands that just didn't hold on to the ball. And granted, he could have gotten there a little bit earlier. The placement could have been better because the contact was coming in. But he did hit a couple guys in the hands. So 13 to 29, we could easily say that he had at least 15 completions, not 13.
Yeah, you know what? I think his completion part kind of started off. I tell you, I can kind of guess what their game plan was. I think in the first quarter, you can kind of see they want to get Sean maybe out in the flat against a linebacker. Even they came back to that play a couple of times in the game. Number 44 for Purdue made a great bat down late in that fourth quarter to kind of save a big play there. But I think mainly going forward, they probably going to have to give Garrett some better throws, kind of keep his percentage, get him in rhythm, and then once they get him in rhythm, they were stacking the box against Sean. I mean, Sean is the best running back in the ACC, bar none. So they're going to take that away. So, if Dino want to use Sean as a decoy, that's fine. But, you have to – sometimes you're going to need to force feed it to him. Yeah. And hopefully the line can create a hole because, sometimes Shrader does pull it down when he sees, you collapsing too hard on Sean, and he pulls it. He made some good runs there, and hopefully you don't take too many big hits and stuff like that. But, there's going to be games like that. So, but you know what? I guess if you ask every player in that locker room, as long as they came out with a W, that's the most important thing for them.
Yeah, I tell coaches all the time, just said it recently to Brian and Stratton, I said it's a lot easier to coach somebody after a win on what you can work on than to coach somebody after a loss, because then it's like, well, we missed this stuff and we lost the game. When you win the game and say, hey, we could have gotten better, that obviously feels better. Isaac and I are going to take a step aside inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners. Fill your cup up right in North Syracuse in their drive-thru location as well. And for those of you out of town, go to cafekubal.com. That's cafe, Kubal.com, and have them deliver it right to your doorstep. We'll take a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we'll be back in just a few moments as we'll talk about Garrett Shrader's running and bouncing off the ground by your own head. We'll talk about all of that right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue
in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
back here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, hanging out with you where sports meets life. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, starting off your week with this special Tortora and Alford. Of course, myself, Dan Tortora, Isaac Alford, hanging out with you in our post-game conversation from Purdue at Syracuse inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Cafe Kubal, as we told you before the break, head out to 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. And, of course, you can go to cafekubal.com. So, speaking about filling your cup up right, do it with some sangria at the Syracuse tailgate party.
That's what they know how to do it right.
Oh, yeah, they do. And I said, I was like, I'm a little kid, I want to eat that fruit out of there. And Isaac's like, I was trying to get the apple, and I'm drinking it. And he's like, I kept drinking more, trying to get to the apple. And the thing about it, and I said to one of the family members of the cruises, I said out to them, I was like, I want to always drink this stuff in it, not thinking that that's soaked in the alcohol more than anything.
Right.
And so, that'll definitely get you. I didn't get to any of them. I will say, though, that I had bees around me, land on me, get in my drink. And, I was telling Isaac on the way there, I said, dude, I don't know. If there's one bee, it'll come to me. And Isaac and I were met with many bees.
Yeah, we were in a hive of bees. I don't know what it was, but they must have enjoyed the sangria too. So.
Yeah, I said these must be some Hispanic bees. The bees like, party, and then I remember, and shout out to Vanessa, she's like, do you want a shot? I'm like, no, Isaac and I are good. Sangria is good enough. 10 minutes later, she goes, Dan wants a shot, and gives me a shot. And I was like, Isaac's doing one. So Isaac and I were feeling warm and toasty on the way into the dome today.
Good, very good.
Yeah, we felt good. So, thank goodness it wasn't Mardi Gras, because we probably would have taken our tops off for some beads in the dome. Maybe that's later this season. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how Fat Tuesday treats it.
Sounds like a Sugar Bowl invite to me.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. I go back to New Orleans anytime. Went down there for Katrina relief in 2006, and right before I started working at Disney. And I got to tell you, some of the best experiences, people that I met. I can literally, when you think back on your life, and 36, almost 37 years that I've been on this spinning rock. And if you ask me about 2006 Hurricane Katrina relief, I can literally remember multiple things, multiple people, multiple situations immediately. And that's when something's had an effect on your life.
Right.
When I can say New Orleans and I go back to 10 memories without even thinking.
Yeah, that was a good gesture for what you did. So yeah, that's always going to be with you, no matter how long you're here on this earth. But definitely, and then New Orleans got their own little swag. I had a buddy in the military that was from New Orleans, and actually a few guys I knew from New Orleans, and anytime I hear that accent, I automatically know that's New Orleans, man.
Yeah, and everything that's like an O, it's EAUX, so go and all that stuff. But what I thought was really cool going down there for Katrina relief was, the experience that we had with the people. And there's this one guy, and there was a bunch of us, men and women, that came down from Marywood, and it was called Operation Helping Hands, and different people did it, and so our school went down. And when we were down there, we all slept in a military tent. So this big old metal tent, 400 people in it, cots. And when I say we slept, everyone was in a cot in rows, and you were just next to total strangers, and you had nowhere to put your stuff. If you wanted to sleep holding on to your wallet, you put your bag in your suitcase underneath your bed. I tried to sleep around where I had somebody from Marywood all around me and across, but it's you're sleeping next to a stranger, you don't know where, and then there was only a few outlets, and the people on the back are sitting up in there with their little outlets for their charger, trying to make friends with them. They could charge their phone. And then one girl, liked people to stare at her. So she always got change when she was in the tent with everybody. But I just remember being in that military tent saying you don't think about it because you're there focusing on something else. But it's I'm in a military tent sleeping next to 399 strangers, and of the people that I do know that aren't strange, they might be friends or whatever, none of these people are people that I've slept next to. You know what I mean? Right. So when you're in this situation, we had a raccoon that was not rabid, was actually nice, and the raccoon would like come up and just kind of visit. And I remember the first time I saw it, we were eating dinner, and there was a tent where people could watch like movies and TV, and this girl was sitting on the phone, whatever, like talking to her mom or something. She was sitting like this. The raccoon was underneath her, and he was kind of like going like this, trying to like slap her leg, and she didn't know he was there. And I'm like, should somebody? And I went to go tell her, like, no. They're like, no, that's Roger. He comes by every day.
Roger.
And I was like, you can name the rabbit squirrel, but the raccoon.
Right.
But I mean, he was pretty cool. They went on a ghost tour. I did not go because I don't. And when we went downtown, every building, I told this to myself because I believe in God. Very, very devoutly, and it can always be better. And God, you know I love you. Every building I went into that had any type of potions or voodoo dolls, I left. I was like, I don't want to be in here long enough for someone to remember my face and put it on a doll.
Right.
But they had love potion. They had like, that man gonna give me his money potion. Like they had all types of stuff. And I'm
the tomato sauce.
Yeah, and I'm like wondering if it works. I'm gonna take the love potion and go over to that girl that was always getting changed and throw it on the ground and be like, "You love me." but yeah,
you don't want that kind of love.
No, I didn't want that. I got enough of that. Got enough of those girls going like, "Hi," and I was like, "No, I'm good." But I would have rather been hanging out with that raccoon, hold his
there
hand.
You go.
I'll be
there
like,
you go.
Why don't you and I just go find some food together? Go crack a nut before I got to deal with all this other stuff. So. I was gonna say something inappropriate, but I won't. I'll say it off the air.
There you go.
There's a lot of things that come to my mind when I'm on the show, and I want to say it, but I want to say it twice now. But no, I mean being down there was great.
Yeah.
And it was God again. I remember sitting in a room at Marywood, and I said, I was like, I don't want to give money, because you find out these horror stories that some of these places, when you're doing relief, you give money and they give like 1% of it to the people, and then like the other 99% the company keeps it, or and it's like, oh, we gave $1 million, but like 16,000 went to the people, and like, where'd all the other money went?
Oh yeah, money is easily mismanaged. So yeah, but you gave what hard-earned time and effort. That means something.
So I said to God, I don't want to give money, because I don't know if it'll go there. I'd rather do something with my hands. I would rather help, and I know that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I looked up at God, and I said, if you give me the opportunity, I will take it. And not only did he give me, what do you call the operation? Helping hands.
Right.
And they presented it to us, and I looked up, and I went, oh, you just told me to put my money where my mouth is. And I was like, well, I have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to raise $1,000. I want to shout out everybody that donated. My dad's office, the Attorney General's office, and Medicaid Fraud Control Unit. I want to thank y'all in Syracuse, New York. We raised, I think, $1,300. I raised over.
Mm-hmm.
And we landed in New Orleans. It was 96 degrees, 94 or 96 that day. I remember being in the airport going like, is the window open in the airport? Because it was so hot in the airport.
Right.
And I remember feeling suffocated, and I'm like, why did I do this? And then at the end of the trip, I was like, because you do it for these people.
Yeah. Probably you didn't. Was the airport functional inside terminal?
I don't even know if it was functional at the time.
I would imagine it wouldn't probably had any power or anything given what just happened, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and you don't even think of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get there, and God, again, showing himself. There was people that cried throughout the week, and I had not cried yet. And I went to 2 back-to-back houses. We did 4 houses in 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And they said we were the quickest crew that they had, and shout out to Marywood for that, and everybody that came with us all on that. I appreciate it. And so Donald Godwin, one of my best friends, and also like another father figure to me, shout out. I used to call him Dad. I was the dean of students at the time. Now he's at the University of San Diego. But we were down there, and in back-to-back houses, I found it by myself, a picture of Jesus. And in both houses, I found the same prayer. And then my teacher, who I call my Feeney, Boy Meets World reference, Mr. DeSantis, Tom DeSantis, he gives me this quote with Jesus on the other side of it that I found in these houses back to back, which was, Lord, please help me to remember there is nothing I'll go through today that you and I together can't handle. Found that in both houses, had not cried, went into a house of 4 generations. Guy came in, had a little cooler. had like a juice box, a soda, a water or two, and he was like, "You guys have to take this." And we had a crew of like 20 some odd people, whatever. And we're like, "No," and he's like, "No, you have to." And he had literally just this little cooler of 4 or 5 drinks. And he's like, "You have to take this. It's all I have left, and you have to take it." Mm-hmm. And there was literally like wooden, supposed to be like studs for the house that were swinging because before the storm hit, termites came in. So he got hit like twice. These termites were eating up the house. He tells his story, and it's like, "Why live here?" And this and that. And he's like, it's like this 4th generation of my family. I was taking a crowbar to this 360 fireplace that had plaster on it, and the only reason why I knew that there was brick underneath it was the guy that was up on the ladder before me, he had got 2 small pieces out. And I'm hitting at this thing, I'm wailing at this thing, and I can't get any plaster off, and we're supposed to take it down to the brick, and I'm hitting, nothing happens. That guy tells me his story. I cried, I got up on that ladder, and I literally beat that thing down until I like couldn't feel my arm. And as I'm hitting the fireplace, I hit the lower part. And another sign of God, for all of you that don't believe, hopefully after this story you believe 10 times over, there is a paper-thin newspaper clipping of a baby angel that was taped onto the fireplace that I was whacking away at, and I didn't rip it.
Wow, that was amazing.
So, like, you talk, and I know that we're talking football, and what you said about New Orleans provoked that. But, like, people need to understand the people of New Orleans were beeping their horns at us, being there for us. The staff that they had cooking for us on the military campus I was like, "You guys need to, like, give us peanut butter and jelly, go cook for the people." They were making, seafood gumbo, like, the best food you'll have in the world, Fra Diavolo. And everything that they did for us in 5 days, since the day I left in 2006, I would go back in a heartbeat. And if I wasn't working my Disney college program, I don't think I would have left. I think I would have worked the whole summer just doing Katrina relief.
Right. Like I say, that's a memory that's going to last you a lifetime, man. Those are those moments that when you give your heart and you help somebody out, you're definitely going to appreciate it. So, yeah.
And that wake-up call is where sports meets life. That's the tagline. So when we talk about this stuff, we're par for the course, if not a birdie. But I would be remiss. I'm talking about something that I got to do once in my life in that respect. The man sitting next to me, the other half of Tortora and Alford, served, you're connected to the U.S. military, and, you have done so much and given so much of your time. I would love for you to share a story or two where we can honor the military, because I am so incredibly grateful for our friendship and for being family and brothers to each other. And within all of that, I am so happy to know that you are so selfless.
Yeah. No, I was just kind of thinking when you were talking about sleeping in the cots, it brought back a memory in Jacksonville, Florida. Get you this. We was on an exercise, and I don't know if you know where Cecil Naval Base is in Jacksonville, but it's like a naval base there.
And they talk about it like Deadpool talked about it in his movie
Does
twice.
it? Okay.
Yeah, there's a naval base in Jacksonville.
So yeah, we actually went on the exercise and we slept in cots on the in the hangar on the naval base. And
yeah,
I'm not gonna say it was one of the easy. It wasn't bad, but it was one of those places where, not being associated with the Navy, you never knew how much they flew jets. So it's like 11 o'clock at night, and they're doing their night runs, and they're making their jets. So it was something I won't ever forget either.
So you're like underneath them landing?
No, we're in like a hangar, like the place where they,
so you're sleeping in the hangar. So like you're
the
hearing
runway
them,
is outside the hangar,
like right out your hangar. So
yeah,
you're hearing them like coming
exactly.
Around.
Yeah, they're taking off, going up, and coming back, and all this other stuff. So. But and this is the year of G.I. Jane, I believe. I want to say Demi Moore supposedly was maybe.
Don't talk about that in front of Will Smith over
here. Yeah, I think she was down, and I think there's a National Guard base somewhere not far from the airstrip that we was staying on, and that was the other little cool fact about that time. Was like they were somewhere on that that campground. They were filming that movie, so. So yeah, definitely my time in the military, you come, like you said, you're next to people you never met in your life, and that's what the military is people from all walks of life coming together for one mission. to fight, for the country, and you form bonds like that. Like you said, you work with a guy. I'm pretty sure there's some people that you probably remember from New Orleans just from being there for your time that, you come together as a group, to do something for other people that don't have the ability to do that. And that's basically what the military is.
Oh, yeah. You put 13 people in a 10-person Astrovan,
Right.
and you got 3 people trying to fit in the backpack. And, there's all kinds of stuff. They're warning us about we had to have oil-free, we had to have waterproof, oil-proof, and then have like steel toe because of nails,
Oh, yeah.
because of the oil, because of the water. And then we found out right before we got there, a guy like the day before he hit the crowbar, and they said watch out for rats, because people were not necessarily dying from the storm, they were dying from sickness after.
Oh, yeah,
standing water,
dysentery or whatever.
yeah, so they were one of the guys on a different crew hit the ceiling, water came down, got in his mouth, he got rat poisoning from it. And then they tell us about brown recluse spiders,
Oh, yeah.
which don't kill you. Wherever they bite, they start to kill your cells, and it spreads out, and if you don't get to it in time, you have to amputate.
Right.
And I'll never forget, so nobody told us this, we go in, there's it's open to the outside, this dusty auditorium, like a kindergarten auditorium. And it's if you watched Avengers Endgame, it's like where they were doing the 5 years, it was like an AA meeting, but trying to deal with life after the blip in the movie. And Captain America's sitting there, and they're all talking to each other about their lives. And it looks like that, or like an AA meeting where you just come into this thing. There's a bunch in this auditorium. There's no lights except from the outside. It's dusty. And he's telling us all these things. This is what you prepare for. This is what you signed up for. And the guy's being really serious. He's being hey, just so you know, this is not like a song and a dance. This is going to be tough.
To pay attention, exactly. Yeah.
And we're about to leave. And he goes, oh, I should probably tell you guys. I can't believe I forgot this. There's these things called brown recluse spiders, and they're really tiny. And he said, if you have hair on your arm, he said, it literally feels like when the wind just subtly blows the hair on your arm, you won't even think anything of it. It just feels like a little bit of the wind. They're the same color as your skin, and they'll bite you. And if they do, they'll start to kill their cells, and it'll spread out in both directions, and you may have to amputate. So I'm walking out going, I wish they put that in the pamphlet. You know what I mean? In the flyer. And so I'm walking out, and I got the last thing to go into the van. So I'm carrying out this foam cooler, and I'm not paying attention. I'm just carrying out the cooler, doing my thing. And we have to wear long clothes because we had to cover as much as our body from the spiders and from everything else.
You don't want to get scratched by a nail or something like that. Yeah.
So I'm walking in this thing, and I'm feeling this thing go like this to me while I'm walking, and I'm going whatever, and I'm talking to somebody, and as I'm putting it in. I'm putting this foam cooler into the truck. I'm putting it in, or to the van. I'm putting it into the van, and I look, and there is a tan spider on a web that's sitting there on the side of the thing, and that must have been the thing hitting my arm, but I think it was dead, and I went, okay. So I was like, he just talked about the brown recluse, and thank you, Lord, that if that is one, it was a dead one.
Right.
But I'm like, and again, I was like, what's hitting my arm? And then I set it down, and I go, oh, that's a tan small spider that I'm happy I didn't know was hitting my arm the whole time.
Yeah, you definitely dodged a bullet with that one. But yeah, my time in Alabama, you hear about that, especially going out and camping in the woods and stuff like that. You uncover a foxhole or something like that. You got to be careful, especially down south with those types of things.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, they tell you down in Texas, they're like, oh yeah, the scorpions just run on the ground, and I'm like, I don't feel like that's a normal thing. People up here, they're like, oh my God, Dan, I camped in my backyard and there was this skunk in the bush.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, there wasn't a scorpion and a brown recluse spider and a friggin' king cobra and all this nasty
cottonmouth, water moccasin.
Yeah, you're down in Florida and it's no big deal. And I remember camping at Pathfinder by Cooperstown, and we were in a cabin. But they said when you come out the cabin, so here's the thing. So you're not in a tent. You're in a cabin, and you're raised a little bit, so you feel a little safer, right? But that door doesn't really shut, and at any point a bear could just pop it open. But then they go, hey, if you need to go to the bathroom, you got to walk up the hill to the bathroom cabin because there's not a bathroom in the cabin.
Oh, you call it a cabin or is it an outhouse?
It was but it was up this. So here's the thing. pitch black, no lights.
Oh yeah,
Pitch black, no lights. This is like people didn't have
This
lights
is the
on their
real
cell
deal.
phones,
Yeah,
right?
you
had
need a
flashlights.
rope to find your way back.
Yeah. So you're walking in the dark like you're drunk, trying to go up this hill. Then you got to go up like 15, 20 wooden stairs. Then you got to go into the pitch black toilet. The entire time they're like, "Oh yeah, if there's a bear there, you won't even see him till you see him." So I'm like, I hope I don't have to pee. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, son of a bit, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm getting up and I'm walking and I'm delirious. And the best thing about being half asleep is you're not as scared.
Right.
Because you're like exhausted. So I'm walking, I'm looking for like eyes in the bush. I get in there, I'm like, I don't know if I peed on the wall. I don't know if I peed I don't know where I peed. I don't know how I got down the stairs. I just remember I got back to the bed,
Right.
and there wasn't a bear that I know of.
Right.
And they're like, and then I find out years later, they're like, oh, the bears climb up the trees and they just watch you and jump down. I was like, can we not talk about this? You know, I was like, at this point, just give me the snake. You know what I mean?
All you had to do is tell me it was a bear, and just tell me how far I need to get out the house. Screw going up the hill. I'll just find a tree somewhere. If you don't know where hey, I ain't got to go up to the outhouse.
I thought to myself, I'm like, I'll just stop in the middle here. Nobody's going to see me.
Exactly.
I was just going to whip it out. And I was like, no, me, I'll pee on the bear. And then the bear will be like, oh, you marking your territory? And then it's going to, you know what I mean? I'd be like, bro, stop.
See, I was going to let you go by, but now you...
Yeah. And I keep thinking back to that night, like when me walking, and like there was probably a bear with his buddy a couple clicks away going, this dumb motherfudger just doesn't even, and he's like this. He's like, he don't see. Oh, and he peed on the wall again. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he was right off to my left, just watching me do my thing.
Well, we glad you didn't get caught by the bear.
Brown recluse, bears, you know? Football games sound a lot easier, don't they now, folks?
Exactly.
So Syracuse is 3-0. Statistically, the turnover thing still looks good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second half, Syracuse looked better. The defense looks good as well. And, how much do you put, when you look at 424 yards and almost 40 completions for Aiden O'Connell, how much do you say, like, oh, that's the DB's got to fix something? And how much of that is just that the defense was on the field for a while as, Purdue was having these very long possessions?
No, it was kind of like I mentioned before. It was almost bend but don't break.
Yeah.
The defense was playing off, giving them underneath type stuff. We're going to tackle you, but guess what? The more you do that, and closer we get to the red zone, you condensing the field. So now we got who's going to make the play, and a couple, like I said, they had they lost it on downs one time. They try to, like we talked about, rush it, but. I think that was kind of their strategy. Hey, we got a legit quarterback over here for Purdue. Let's try our best not get beat with long explosive plays. They're going to get them regardless. You know what I'm saying? But that was just a product. Okay, we give you the yards, but when it really counts, this is time to buckle down when we get in the red zone. And you know what? They got their share, but then we're gonna get our share too from those plays. So it might not look good on paper, giving up that kind of yardage. And yeah, there's some things that they can go back to the film and learn from. Like I say, Purdue ran some interesting routes and stuff like that. They got the guys open. Some of it was on broken plays when Syracuse did get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. He had to rush out the pocket, but he was able to find people. But there was. And they even talked about it in the press conference. They knew he was going to get rid of the ball fast. So it wasn't one of those things they got frustrated with. They said, okay, this is a game plan. He's going to get the ball out of his hands. We just got to rally to the ball, tackle well, and make it tougher from them. So I think they kind of knew what they was getting into. Yeah,
and Syracuse, to their credit, 2 guys got double digits in tackles in the game. Garrett Williams, cornerback, and Michael Jones, linebacker, part of the. And after the game, I went up to Michael and I said, congratulations, shook my hand, gave me a hug. And I said, keep that mob mentality going. And folks, I will tell you, he didn't scream it, he whispered it, and it was more terrifying because he turned around and looked at me and he went like that. And I was just like, oh. I was like, I'm happy that y'all are with me. I'm happy, Michael, that you're my guy. You know what I mean? So but it was a crazy thing to see. But you know what? They're having fun. They're enjoying it in this mob mentality. And when he said it like that, I was like, oh, that's like the Italian mafia. You know what I mean? Whereas like they don't need to yell, they don't have to do anything. Like when they whisper it to you, you know what it is.
Yeah.
They don't have to scare you about like
spoken softly means a lot more than just saying it out.
Speak softly, carry a big stick.
They bring the big hits too. So hey, yeah.
Garrett Williams, Michael Jones, both with 10 total tackles. Garrett 9 of those solo, Michael 6 of those, and Michael had a sack. Kayvon Darton, I want to shout him out. Backup D tackle in this game. I want to show him a lot of love here behind Terry Lockett. Had 8 tackles for the second most on the team, 8 total tackles. 4 of those were solo, and 1.5 were a tackle for a loss. So, we saw some nice guys step up. Derek McDonald, everybody was talking to me about, he looked like a tight end with 81, and they said it confuses the quarterback. I thought he should have kept it to continue to confuse the quarterback, but in this game he wore number 15.
Right, yeah. I think that's part of that mob mentality. They go down to those lower digit numbers, to feel part of the crew. So, but yeah, definitely he did his thing, and like you said, the D line, Purdue really, they wasn't really a team we said we wanted to hand the ball off, but those are the times I can remember in that game when they did try to run.
Yeah.
Most of the time it was tackles for losses and stuff like that. So, you know what? And everybody kind of worried about the D-line coming into the season. And you know what? So far in the 3 games, they've held their own and stuff like that. There's not a lot of people that really been pushing them around. No. And then you look at we got a pretty decent offensive line, guys in the 300s. It's not like these guys are foreign to practicing against 300-pound offensive linemen. So, that's nothing new to them. They play with speed and hit their gaps. And you know what? If they don't do it, like as Dino say, with the crazy eyes and don't do something correctly, you got the linebackers right back behind them cleaning it up. So, yeah.
You look at the fact that this D-line we were talking about off the air, none of these guys last year were starters going into the season. Terry Lockett was coming onto the team. JT Gear was coming onto the team. And Caleb Ogachukwu was backing up Josh Black and Kingsley Jonathan at DN. So Caleb had 2 starts last year, JT 0, Terry 0, but none of them were true starters. This season, with none of these guys being true starters, coming in and doing it in only 2 starts amongst the 3 of them overall from last year, to see what they've done through these first 3 games, to give pressure. And granted, they only got to Aiden O'Connell to sack him once, and of course they got to him where he forced the throw that Caleb Okechukwu took for the touchdown. But they are providing that pressure. They're providing those opportunities. Aiden's a guy that I believe, I think, when you see him in the Big Ten, he's probably going to have, continue to have these days where he's going to throw 40 to 50 times and have 400 yards and make it interesting. But Syracuse, like you said, bend but don't break. You're not going to stop him. But they did get after him. They did hurry him, and they did run toward him. And it was my biggest concern when Tony White came in and they went with the 3-3-5, because I'm thinking in my head, how is this going to work? How is this model going to work that you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're not going to – I like 4 sets of hands in the dirt. And so to not have that 4th guy and still see the pressure that they're bringing, I got to give it up to Tony White. Best defensive coordinator Syracuse has had in a really long time. And, arguably the best defense. Schaaf brought him from the hundreds to like the teens. Yeah. And so, besides Schaaf, looking at Tony White and what he's done with the 3-3-5 defense has been incredible. And with all due respect, those 3 guys in the front with their hands in the dirt, I got to give it up to them because it feels like 4 or 5 when they're running at these guys.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing with the 3-3-5. You can bring that linebacker or from the inside to outside, and then you always
bring a DB.
Yeah. Yep, you got a DB coming out because you got the extra DB back there. So, it definitely was, like you said, I kind of think about that too, the 3-3-5, because the only thing I could relate to that was West Virginia, and we know how we treat West Virginia around here with the 3-3-5. So.
0-4 in the last 4 games.
Exactly. But this is a totally different style.
But still talking trash, though.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. We got the trophy in our trophy case, not them. So, but this is a different style.
Y'all were the one heating that bus up in the Camping World Bowl. They told us with 10, 12 minutes left in the 4th quarter, if you want to interview West Virginia, you should probably head down within the next couple minutes because they're ready to go.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember Syracuse ever taking the bus and leaving the second the game ended.
Right.
Like, it was like they were literally going off the field onto the bus.
Wow.
And I was like, but you said so much going in. Like, stick around for a minute.
Yeah, enjoy it, you know?
You might have not have been here for the game, but be here for the post game.
There you go. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was kind of crazy. But Syracuse coming up here, plenty of stuff. And it's funny because we talk about the Rover can go anywhere, and it made me think of Red Rover. And then I'm thinking about like Orange Rover, pull somebody over. You know what I mean? Like, get at them. So, did you have a point? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just saying this is a different style of 3-3-5 defense, though. You know, not everybody plays it the same. You know, we see a more aggressive style with it, and like you said with Shafe, he was a more aggressive style. We see what he did with Middle Tennessee State coming back here. That's his
blitz 8 plays in a row.
Exactly, that's what he does. And then you know, with this defense, they can get after you, bringing pressure, or like you say, we can keep our corners on the island. We can challenge you that way. You know, drop linebackers back, catch interceptions underneath coverage. So, but you know what? O'Connell did give them some challenges in this game.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they can go back and look at the film and definitely can pick up on some cues that, yeah, hey, O'Connell's just going to prepare them for Devin Leary. You know, hopefully the quarterback for Florida State is okay. You know, but the backup didn't look too bad in that Florida State game the other night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got some quarterbacks in the Atlantic Division that we're going to see down the road that, hey,
a lot of them,
you know what? This was just the start, and, you know, hey, we can get a game plan rolling from that. You know, we can probably do some things in the Atlantic Division, too.
Yeah, one of those cats coming up, and I think it's great, you know, smart minds when it comes to this stuff. You bringing up the quarterback. So one of the guys that I brought up here in the studio is coming up in the not-too-distant future in Syracuse. They'll face Devin Leary of NC State, and Devin Leary is one of those dangerous guys. He's only a junior because...
Seems like he's been around forever, though.
Yeah, and he gets the extra year. So this is his 4th season on the field because back in 2019, he had over 200 attempts, played in 2019, 2020, 2021, playing this year, but he has another year because of the COVID-free opportunity that everybody got. So Leary, believe it or not, can come back next year and be a part of this squad, which is pretty interesting. But, you know, I mean, I want to shout out Justin Barron, Jihad Carter, Garrett Williams, Elijah Clark, Deuce Chestnut, and, of course, Rob Hanna, Jason Simmons, Jeremiah Wilson, Isaiah Johnson, Eric Coley, everybody fighting there in the 2 deep to be a part of this because they will go back and look at this film. And, again, you're going to see, Garrett Williams is going to see, I didn't give up that touchdown. Deuce is going to say, I didn't give up those 2 plays back-to-back, didn't give up that. Like, there was plays in single coverage they didn't give up, which is great. And knowing that you won this game, a close game, a hard-fought game, back and forth, and that you gave up some plays, but you didn't give up every play.
Exactly.
To go back and look at it and to really see where they can get better, because again, you're getting better in a win, and on top of that, like toward the end of the game, you know, Deuce especially, he was doing some really good things in single coverage.
Then he also coming off his man when he almost, if Deuce was probably what the size they say he's on the depth chart,
6 foot.
If he was maybe 6'2", there was a ball that went straight through his hands. He read the play well. He came back underneath. Yeah. And O'Connell just put it just high enough over his hands. But it was an incomplete pass regardless. But that would have been a pick for Deuce all day. But you know what? Like you said, Barron did a great job on number 87, the tight end. You know, like I said, he kind of watched the first quarter, the second quarter, and see how they was using the tight end. And he made a couple of good plays on him on third downs, too. So, yeah, definitely good shout-outs.
You know, and Isaac talking about the fact that this D-line goes up against big boys in practice. Bergeron, 322. Kalen Ellis, 375. Carlos Vettorello, 292. Chris Bleich, 326. Dakota Davis, 335.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, and I think not just to change the game, but a lot of people say how big of a line Louisville had. And like I say, these guys practice this, throughout the week, so it's nothing new to those guys. So
yeah, I mean, what Louisville did to almost beat Florida State and what they did to shut down the offense of UCF at UCF in the bounce house, where I've been plenty of times. Like, Louisville looked really good against UCF, and they pushed FSU, but Syracuse gave them almost nothing, made Malik Cunningham, and they turned the ball over 3 straight times. You had 2 interceptions, you had 1 fumble, you had another fumble that the offensive lineman recovered, would have been 4 turnovers in the second half. Like, Syracuse, if you look at the 2 games Louisville's played since, and you look at Malik Cunningham and the defense and the offense as a whole, what they've done against UCF and Florida State makes them look competitive, if not the better team. Against Syracuse, they scored 7 points, couldn't get anything going, and the Orange were +3 in the turnovers.
Yeah, well, I think Louisville went back to the drawing board and kind of trying to bring on some of that, Cunningham magic back to his legs, because they didn't really Syracuse didn't let him get off, kind of like Malik Willis with Liberty, That was what my mentality was coming into that Louisville game. They was going to bring that type of defensive scheme with Cunningham. Hey, we know you're a runner, but we're going to try to keep you in the pocket and they, play smart in the back end and stuff like that. So definitely, these guys got a good task coming up with Virginia. And that's going to be another game where Brennan Armstrong, guy's been doing it for the last couple of years in the ACC, putting up the stats with his arm. So, you know what? The next, as they say, next man up when somebody goes down, next team up, next quarterback up for this defense. So
Isaac and I will wrap things up here in this special edition to start off your week here in September on September 19th. Here talking Purdue at Syracuse. We'll take a look ahead for Syracuse in Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student-athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicoli's.com. That's myaviccollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? to be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Salsa Cuse, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus.
This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York. Coming to you, fall 2022.
Back here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios with Cafe Kubal there for you on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse. Of course, inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. And in their drive-thru location where you can go inside, outside when weather's permitting, and the drive-thru on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners there in North Syracuse. So make sure you head out to Cafe Kubal today. Fill your cup up right. My favorite pumpkin spice chai is back. And in perfect timing because pumpkins are orange and so is Syracuse. So very good timing on that and always seems to help out a little bit here. Can't go wrong with it. And I'm a fall baby, so very proud. Listen, everybody's allowed to like what they like unless, you look at a llama and go, oh, he kind of cute. You know what I mean? And then we got to talk about that. But, my pumpkin spice people, listen, I love it. I'm all about it. To the people that don't like it, stop acting like, Nazi Germany's coming back or something like that. Just don't drink it. Drink something else. So, I don't like it, Dan. I'm like, okay, well, it's fine. Some people like chocolate syrup and not hot fudge. We don't need to kill each other over it. So get out and get some pumpkin spice. It is fantastic. And if you've had it anywhere else, you haven't had these syrups and these spices put together by Matt Goddard and his team right here in our community. Remember to always support Central New York. And here inside of MonPosPopcorn.com is what's poppin'. Purdue at Syracuse, the conversation, as Isaac and I are here with you for Tortora and Alford, our special product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, coming to you to start off your week this week with Syracuse at 3-0. On a short week, their game will be Friday night against Virginia, which means that Syracuse offensive coordinator Robert Anae and Syracuse quarterbacks coach Jason Beck will be facing their old team from last season. As Bronco Mendenhall stepped down in Virginia, it left his coaching staff kind of in flux. Robert Anae and Jason Beck, as a little package deal, came over from one Orange to another, come to Syracuse, and just a few games into being Syracuse coaches will already get to face their old team and the old quarterback that they both helped get to over 4,000 yards last year and have the second offense in the nation of over 130 teams in Division I AFBS with Brennan Armstrong. So Brennan comes to the Dome, Friday Night Lights, this week on Friday, September 23rd. Make sure you're in the Dome with Isaac and I, as Brennan Armstrong will face his quarterbacks coach Jason Beck and offensive coordinator Robert Anae. I would like to think, as good as Brennan Armstrong is, they taught him and they know him and they should know his strengths and weaknesses, because Robert Anae built an offense around him and Jason Beck dealt with him all the time in the quarterback room. So I would think if anybody knows how to beat him, it's the two coaches that helped him know how to win, that I would imagine they can now see how to try and get him to lose. So it should be very interesting to see, the apprentice take on the teacher. So it's going to be pretty cool.
No, as you were setting that up, that was the first thing I was thinking about. The Syracuse staff probably got, say like they got a little bit of advantage. These coaches got an inside look at personnel on the other team. Of course, now Virginia comes into the season with a whole new offense, whole scheme or whatever. But like you say, they should know the strength or weakness of that offense, or what they're capable of doing, what those players around Brennan Armstrong can do. They've seen it up close in practice, so that should give Syracuse somewhat advantage, but you still got to go out and execute your offense, execute your defensive schemes against whatever team you're coming up against. So, and that could be vice versa. Virginia coaches could be going back to some of their team, players and saying, hey, what do you remember as this coaching scheme offense? What do they like to call? What do they, I'm pretty sure they're going to probably have to change up on some hand signals or whatever it may be, how they read a defense and stuff like that. So, and then, Coach Anae has been in the ACC, so it's not like he's foreign to this conference. Yeah. You can go back and watch tape on Virginia and kind of get an idea of what they like to do against the defense. But it's going to be, like Dino says, it's not checkers. It's chess.
Yeah.
So
which I took a little bit personally because I don't play chess. I love checkers.
Right.
And so when Dino was like, football is chess. If you want to play checkers, play checkers. If you want to play football, play chess. And I was like, well, Dino, I want to play football, but I love checkers.
So
I was like, can we do both? You know what I mean? They don't have a
Can't
chess
we
thing.
all get along?
Right. At Cracker Barrel, they got checkers games set up, not chess. And that's some wholesome Southern hospitality, Dino. So, you know what I mean? I was like, I looked at him, I was like, man, I thought we were cool, man. You know?
You are cool, but you got what he's saying.
Yeah, we are. Why he did come off and he was walking off and he said nothing to anybody, walked up to me, and right before he shook my hand, he said, I like that shirt.
There you go.
I was like,
there
all right,
go.
Dino. I said, you know what? You made up for that.
There
So
you
we're
go.
good now.
So definitely it's going to be a chess match to see who put their players in the best position, you know, from what they have now. This is a whole new team.
Yeah.
And Virginia's a whole new team. So it's going to be an interesting game, though, for sure.
Brennan knows how they coach, and the coaches know how he plays. And the thing about film watching is that they had to watch film with him every single week saying, you see how you got beat here, you see the mistake you made here. They should know all of his tendencies, all of his strengths, all of his weaknesses, and he should know how they run an offense.
And I guess, you know, if he put up 4,000 yards, there's a lot of strength that they should know, you know. And he's not too bad with his legs either, so he's not like a statue standing back there throwing the ball all over the field. He can get out the pocket and move himself. So.
And remember their tall gentleman that I think about him as slash, kick returner, punt returner, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, Keytaon Thompson, who wears his high 90s number. I had him 2 years ago at ACC Kickoff, had him this past year, wears the bow tie. Big fan of Keytaon Thompson, and, you know, last year when he was coming in, when he was, getting involved in the offense, I thought, like, are we going to see him and Brennan throw? And then Brennan, took over, but Keytaon they can utilize. And Tony Elliott, who came over from the Dabo Sweeney coaching tree as an offensive coordinator and in his first head coaching job here with the Virginia Cavaliers, he's 2-1. All the teams they played are unranked. Virginia comes into this game beating Richmond at home, beating Illinois, or losing to Illinois on the road 24-3 to a Tommy DeVito team, and former Syracuse quarterback. And then defeating Old Dominion in a close one. And Old Dominion's already played spoiler. I got a couple friends on that team that were, and some of those guys were recruited by Syracuse, chose to go to the Monarchs. So Old Dominion 16-14 wins their game this past weekend as well on Saturday, September 17th. Virginia's 2-1, and Virginia's one of those teams that, like, they haven't won a lot of games consistently. You look at their history here. Last year, they were 6-6. The year before that, in the abbreviated year 2020, they were 5-5, 9-5 in 2019, 8-5 in 2018, 6-7 in 2017, 2-10 in 2016. They had 2-10 seasons in a 4-year span from 2013 to 2016. So this is a team that more often than not is like 5, 6, maybe 7-win team. So seeing them start off like they have with Tony Elliott in his first season as a head coach, good signs here for them to see that. And, they took down Richmond by more than a couple touchdowns. They lost big time by 3 touchdowns at Illinois in the only road game that they've played this season. They're coming into Syracuse for their second road game, and at home in Virginia, in Charlottesville, barely got out alive against Old Dominion, winning by 2 points.
Yeah. I mean, and then road games are very tough. I watched a little bit of that Illinois game, and it was one of those games where I don't think they really could get it going, and turnovers. I think Illinois even scored on a turnover right there with the defense, but that it goes to show they always say playing on the road is always tough, especially even in conference. So but. Tony Elliott got some guys that been out on the field. It's not like he's coming into a whole new system where he's trying to figure out if these guys can play at the college level. These guys got some games under their belts. So, like you said, they're in that little spot of maybe 7 or 8 wins a season. They've had some different quarterbacks over the years when they had some of those good years. I think of Bryce Perkins.
Yeah.
Not too long.
Who's actually with John Walford from Wake Forest, and they're both, those ACC quarterbacks are both backing up Matt Stafford in LA with the Rams.
So definitely they've had some talent come through that program. So
I remember Bryce Perkins. They had a film I think the last season he played at Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
where he was like running toward the end zone and they were showing it from the end zone, and he's like shaking a guy off, and you're thinking like, is he gonna score on this play? Like just the way that he could keep something alive. So
right, yeah. So and then I think Brennan Armstrong too. Not only can do it with his arm, you got to be careful with his legs too. So
yeah,
if you get out of your lanes and you let him get out of the pocket, he can run too. So definitely going to be a challenge again. The Atlantic Division in the ACC. I don't know if we always got our top tier. We know who in the Atlantic Division, but the Atlantic, to me personally, in my opinion, is more competitive than the Coastal. So
yeah.
But you know what? We're going to see what we can do with this Coastal opponent coming in on Friday night. So
yeah, the Atlantic, you have to win 11 to 12 games this season. The Coastal, you can go 7-5.
Yeah, and still be in the championship game.
Because Pitt did that.
Yeah,
a few years ago. Yeah, and to put this into perspective, folks, for those of you that think that Brennan Armstrong's a true quarterback and Garrett Shrader is more of the running quarterback, their numbers are actually closer than you think when you look at completion percentage. Garrett Shrader's completion percentage not as high, and you look at what we had here in 2020 when we saw over 200 passes from Brennan Armstrong in Virginia. He was 58.6%. Last season, he threw 500 passes. 326 completions, 65.2%. This year, he went into the game against Old Dominion at only 52.3%, which was far lower than the 79.2 that Garrett Shrader had.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you don't think, and I'm not saying they're the same, I'm just saying statistically, when you think, oh, this guy is a true quarterback and they had so much more talent than Garrett Shrader, where, Coach Anae and Beck had like this tier with Brennan and this tier with Garrett, which I don't agree with. And you look at it going, well, Brennan's completion percentage wasn't that great. And then you say, well, Garrett can run. And then I flip you to the other side where you look at Brennan last in 2020, he had 5 rushing touchdowns, 4.4 yards a carry, over 500 yards. And last season, even though he had 2.6 yards a carry and 251 yards, he had 9 touchdowns on almost 30 less attempts. He scored 4 more rushing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
He already has scored on the ground this season coming into this game. So when you really look at what did Anae and Beck have when they were building the offense of Virginia, not too much different when you look at completion percentage normally and the ability to run. Brennan Armstrong and Garrett Shrader's games are not as far off as people think.
No,
not statistically.
No, not really. And then, like we say, he's had a different offensive scheme, so maybe his getting used to what Tony Elliott and how that team was calling plays. You've been with Coach Anae for all your years, so I'm pretty sure consistency. We talk about that with Garrett in this offense. How many coordinators that he had in his time being a quarterback in college. So sometimes when you have a new terminology to learn, everybody's trying to get on the same page with each other offensively. You might have your, fits and, starts and, fits and trying to find your way along a game plan. But the ability is there. He's proven it in a different offensive scheme. So they're not, like you said, they're not too much different. And, it doesn't mean, better players are not one another on a different team. But, he's a legit quarterback too. So, defense got to come back and prove it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brennan Armstrong coming in, and you think that Aiden O'Connell, with everything that he did, he might be a little bit above Brennan Armstrong, but Brennan is he's gonna run, he's gonna throw. And Keytaon Thompson, Tony Elliott said, he told me flat out at ACC kickoff, he's like, I am on Keytaon every single day because I don't want him to be an NFL player. I want him to be an NFL player that has longevity.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool to hear him say it the way he said it, where he talked about Keytaon, who's a slash guy, and Syracuse hasn't seen anybody like him yet, where he said, I don't want him to make the NFL. I want him to stay in the NFL.
Right. And there's a certain way you prepare yourself for that, too. So, yeah, you can get to the league, but, and you got to pick up those habits. You got to come out there and give it. Like you say, the coaches on him because they know what his potential is. So, a special young man there, he, like you say, he's slash, so he done it all for that team. So.
And ironically, to bring our story full circle, hometown?
What's that?
New Orleans, Louisiana.
Ah, there you go.
Again, big guy going, Got him. God just dropping another dime. So we look at the stats here. Keytaon Thompson has passed the ball, ran the ball, and received the ball at Virginia. He was at Mississippi State before. Passing wise, he attempted 3 passes in 2020, 4 passes last year, and then running the ball at Virginia, he had 234 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, 6 yards a carry in 2020. In 2021, 247 yards, 6.3 yards a carry, 4 rushing touchdowns. So in his 2 seasons at Virginia, he is averaging at least 6 yards a carry. Before that at Mississippi State, he averaged 5.9 yards a carry in 2017, 9.4 yards a carry in 2018, which means in his career in 4 seasons in 2 different places, he's continued to be successful on the ground. Keytaon Thompson, who can throw it, and one of those guys that can run at you, maybe throw over top, got to watch out for it, and he's got height. The man is averaging 6.5 yards per carry over 4 seasons on the ground. And then receiving-wise, he had 3 touchdowns at Virginia in 2020, 2 in 2021, caught 78. He went from catching 7 balls in 2020 to catching 78 balls last season in Robert Anae's offense. And now he has over 100 yards already this season in 2022 as he's utilizing all this. And we talk about, Damian Alford and Anae Gadsden and looking at, 6'5", 6'6". Keytaon Thompson, 6'5".
Yeah, I mean, Anae, I think Anae is in that mold in this Coach Anae's offense of how Thomas was with Virginia. But, yeah, he's definitely a good athlete out there. They try to put him in spaces where they can take advantage of his talent. But you know what? You was like transferring from Mississippi State. I'm like, where have I heard that from? Transfer from Mississippi State.
Garrett Shrader.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what? Let's see who's got the.
Ain't nobody want to play for Mike Leach.
No. So yeah, let's see what Mississippi State transfers got to offer on Friday night. Yeah.
I felt a little chill. I feel like Mike Leach's ghost was trying to get at me. Like Mike's alive, but he must have a little spirit on him or something like that. He sent somebody my way because Mike Leach is always they'll ask him about the game and he'll talk about donuts for 15 minutes. But do your thing, Leach. Be who you want to be. So before we jump out of here, we got to look at what's coming up. We talked a little bit, obviously, about what Virginia is going to pose here, and Virginia coming off of a close victory over Old Dominion at home. I do want to make a note on some other games that happened over the weekend as college football through the first 3 weeks, and to some people who consider week 0 4 weeks. But we're in week 3. There is a week 0 where a few teams had played, including UConn. And to look at the schedule over the weekend of what we saw, Florida State at Louisville, which you talked about. Florida State won on the road, which I had 35-31, had them win in that game. Wyoming defeated Air Force 17-14, and then through some of the rest of this here, we saw Georgia handle it, Alabama, a bunch of these ones. Michigan handled UConn without any issue whatsoever, and so you see all of these wins. But there were some other games that came in here that you got to circle, right? Oregon 25th in the nation. BYU coming off of a win at home against Baylor, who was 9th at the time, and BYU was 21. They will be opponents in the Big 12 next season. BYU still independent. After winning that game, BYU got spanked by Oregon 41-20, so Oregon will rise in the polls. Baylor bounced back over Texas State 42-7. Isaac was watching this one really closely. Wake Forest at home almost became the 3rd team to lose to Liberty. NC State was close to becoming that team in the past too. And Wake outlasts Liberty at home. Liberty unranked, Wake Forest 19, and Wake only wins by a point, 37-36. Penn State spanks Auburn on the road, and this a replay of one of the bowl games of recent history. Penn State 22 in the nation, Auburn not ranked. Penn State 41-12 on the road, Big Ten versus the SEC. And then some of these other games that we had here, taking a look at, some of these were pretty ridiculous here. But UCLA beat South Alabama by 1 point at home.
Right.
UCLA against South Alabama at home only wins 32-31 in that matchup. Rutgers beats Temple at Temple 16-14 in the Northeast games here. Notre Dame gets out alive for their first win of the season, and Freeman gets his first win as a head coach at Notre Dame, 24-17. Tulane beats Kansas State on the road for a win for the Americans, 17-10. And outside of that,
I believe Upstate had a winning Hail
Troy.
Mary.
Yeah,
it was a Hail Mary play. They won that game at the last second. So yeah.
So App State taking care of business 32-28. After their win, UAB got a win over Georgia Southern 35-21. Worth noting here, independent UMass, the people typically scheduled to beat, defeated Stony Brook at home 20-3. And Bowling Green outlasted Marshall, who was coming off a win over Notre Dame 34-31. Bowling Green at home in overtime. And Mike Elko gets another win as the head coach of Duke by a large margin, beating North Carolina A&T 49-20. You might say to me, well, Dan, Isaac, who cares? It was North Carolina A&T. Well, my biggest note about this is that Duke is scoring a lot of points. And even against teams like that in the past, they would maybe score 17, maybe get to 20. They struggled to score in the games where they should blow them out. And scoring almost 50, for you to know, it could be North Carolina A&T or anybody. The biggest note here is Mike Elko, a defensive-minded guy, has Duke scoring a lot more points than they used to.
Oh, I wouldn't even know. Well, yeah, definitely. Execution of the offense, that's what really comes down to. No matter what the opponent is, you go out there and you execute your game plan, and you put up points. Yeah, hey, now you got something on film for some other coach to worry about when it's their time to put you on the field. So, yeah.
And Indiana barely defeats Western Kentucky. Another overtime game at home. Indiana needs overtime 33-30 to win their game. Shout out to Army taking care of Villanova at home 49-10 at West Point. And so a big time victory, a big margin of victory for them there. And, and the list goes on. So a lot of good games that we, saw over this past weekend. And, there was a bunch of blowouts too, but some really close nail-biting games, Syracuse being one of them. And Isaac was right in week 1 when he picked Syracuse to win. I picked Syracuse to score 31, but I had them losing. So Isaac was right in that. I want to give him credit. And in the same respect, I said this game multiple times going in the game this week would be a game that would probably be a field goal of separation. I said, look at a team to score in the 30s and the other team high 20s, or both teams in the 30s. And this was 30s, high 20s. So I was right about that, right about the Syracuse win, right about a field goal of separation, 32-29. And I said it would be a heart stopper, and my heart stopped at least 3 times. 2 of those times because of the sangria, and then one of those times was because of the game.
I think the sangria kept it pumping.
Yeah, so definitely a cool game. Syracuse coming up here, folks. As we said, they got Virginia in the Dome. We'll see you this Friday night, September 23rd, and that'll be at 7 p.m., Friday Night Lights. Then Syracuse is at home for 2 more in a row, Wagner and NC State on October 1st, October 15th. They will take a bye week, October 8th. And, just to see what this is, I want to let everybody know, outside of the Virginia game, Syracuse's whole rest of the season, including Notre Dame, all the times are to be announced. And for the first time ever, it's not because they're bad, and it's not because they're going to be noon games. It's because Syracuse is playing good enough that they don't know where they want to put them on TV for the right reason. And that's the first time in a long time. So for all those people frustrated with the to be announced, be happy that this time it's for a good reason.
Yeah, exactly. They coming out here and they're going to earn. If they keep doing what they're doing, take it game by game, hey, to be announced is going to be in prime time,
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Definitely a good thing. Any final notes, final word?
You know what? The Syracuse team this weekend, they came out, they took care of business. Like Coach say, you just want to be 1-0. Every week, so we got another opportunity to be 1-0. I wouldn't get too frustrated on the offense, performance. Like I say, I just need people to make plays. Give me a playmakers, and whatever happens at the end, we get on the W side of it. I take that every time, So hopefully this next game coming up, we'll get to work some of the kinks out, and you know what? We'll find out what's more this how resilient this SU team is going to be leading on through the season.
And on a short week, as Jason Beck and Robert Anae and Brennan Armstrong will all see each other again, as well as the rest of the offense for Virginia, Keytaon Thompson, that know Coach Anae and Coach Beck so very, well. Syracuse getting a victory, improving to 3-0. They will host Virginia this Friday, September 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time once again. And Virginia being 2-1. The only loss they have is on the road. Syracuse is going to try and make that 2. And for everybody knocking Garrett Shrader, look at what he did down the stretch and the passes that he completed. And when he went right and then turned left and sent it out to an open Arande Gadsden the second, Syracuse has Alford, Jackson, Gadsden, a lot of guys, Devon Cooper, who wasn't as involved in this game, but another threat that they have as well. A lot of players on this Syracuse team can catch the ball, and Garrett Shrader can throw it. This is a game that a lot of people would have left in years past thinking there's no way he's going to complete the pass. Everyone that knocked him, put him down for everything that was in this game and the frustration people had. He made the passes when it counted, and that's all that matters. Like Isaac said, get the win. However you got to do it, legally and fairly, find a way to get the win. And as I mentioned, Garrett Shrader flipped over in the first quarter, bounced off the ground on his helmet, and got up. And then that play where he was shaken up a little bit, went, lowered, hit, and then the guy like pulled him backwards, fell on the ground. This man is a dog. He doesn't stop. And what you'll see in the open field that reminds me a lot of what Dungy did as well, as Garrett Shrader breaks out into the open field. He's totally upright. He's running. He sees that defender that's going to try and tackle him, and most people would slide down. He looked at him, and he just went right at him. So, yes, I want him to be careful. No, I don't want any more bouncing off your head, but I can definitely say that Garrett Shrader is a dog. I know that after this game, the way he looked at me, that there's a lot of things I'm sure he wants to correct. But down the stretch, how many Syracuse quarterbacks in recent history are making those throws, coming away with a win, and no matter how ugly it may have looked at times, even if it was 3/4 of the time it didn't look great, when he had to make those passes, he made those passes, those receivers caught those balls, and whatever you want to say about Garrett Shrader, the team is 3-0, and without what he did at the end of the game, they would be 2-1.
Yeah, exactly. And if you let some people come in, you probably thought we'd been 1-2 at this point in the season. But you know what? Yeah, that's why we line up and play the game.
Absolutely. So we want to thank you for being a part of the show. You tune in live to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT worldwide, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage. Once the shows go live, you can check us out in the archives on Amazon Music, Audible, as well as iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, TuneIn, Spotify, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Stitcher, and YouTube. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And of course, you can ask Alexa, as well as your Google Home devices, to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and Alexa will go, Dan and Isaac? Oh, I love them. And then she'll play right there for you. So she got a little swagger to her. If you say Tortora and Alford, she'd be like, oh, like this. So have some fun with it. That's also the sangria talking. Thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond. Cafe Cubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty-Wicks, PB&J's Lunchbox, K9 Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, K9 Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, as well as Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Mother's Cupboard, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and Chick-fil-A Watertown coming to you in fall of 2022. Of course, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Way Up every single month on Wake Up Call. You'll find Dolphin Time every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Set your dial and keep it. YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com /WakeUpCallDT. Every first and third Wednesday of each month, we have Bob Beretta and AD and DT with Athletics Director of Lemoyne, Bob Beretta, and myself, Dan Tortora, a.k.a. DT. Every second and fourth Wednesday, and you just came off a doubleheader, you have the Dolphin Dive with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni joining the show for our entire archive of Lemoyne content that is exclusive, that you won't find anywhere else, and not like this. You will find your Dolphins on the Lemoyne tab of WakeUpCallDT.com. You'll also find them by subscribing to YouTube.com /WakeUpCallDT. And for more information on your Dolphins, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. And as always, I'll see you in the stands. at Lemoyne. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. The Bobcat Buzz comes to you every single month, and we are buzzing about a lot of different things. We have had so many specials, under promise, over deliver, with men's and women's soccer, which are both reigning national champions, the inaugural baseball team for Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. We have women's and men's basketball coming up. We've already done exclusive features with them. We've been at Mother's Cupboard, PB&J's Lunchbox, as well as on campus and at Cafe Cubal with our exclusive specials with the Bobcats in our multimedia marketing partnership. Check everything out at the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and subscribing to us there. And for more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And if you went to the game recently and said, Dan, I heard somebody that sounded like you on the PA announcements, boy, that was me. And I was still, just like I was with Isaac with the sangria, I was getting chased by two bees while I was broadcasting the dang thing. So the bees loving up on me, but they left me alone in order to do my opening announcements. So for that 5-minute span, they let me be. And that is totally pun intended. With that being said, inside of the Cafe Cubal studios, Wake Up Call, at Wake Up Call DT on Facebook, at Call DT on Twitter, at Wake Up Call _DT on Instagram, and always on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and wakeupcalldt.com. For Isaac Alford, myself, Dan Tortora, this is Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we look forward to talking with you very soon. And we are so happy that we got to start off the week with you, and that we last weekend got to have some fun with over 30,000 of you that were waiting to see your oranges before you picked your apples. Thanks, Isaac.
Much pleasure. Go Orange.
Go Orange, and bucket hats are in. I don't care what any of my exes said. This man is undefeated with his bucket hat on, and I'm about to go get my Rebel Leader one. We'll talk with you all soon. Take care, and as always, God bless. No stress. Do your best. We'll talk soon.